Welcome back, Mando.
Oh! Greetings, Bucketheads. Mavar Tagar. Welcome to our 306th Lothcat chasing episode of Mandovision. I'm your host, Nargai Tom, and thank you so much for checking out this small, independent Star Wars podcast. We're so glad you're here. Make sure you're hitting us up on those socials at Mando_Vision on X, or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, and Instagram, just Mandovision at Blue Sky, and you can email the show, mandovisiontom@gmail.com. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow, and share this show with all the Mandalorians in your covert. Hello, friends. Welcome back. Buckethead Nation, you are here for another Star Wars Rebels rewatch episode as our saga continues. And we are ready to dive into an episode that touches back on the mystery of what happened to Ezra's parents. And it's a good episode. I like what's going on here. You know, everything's coming together from the last episode. The Empire knows that the rebels are on Garel, but the Force drops another vision on Ezra, and his reaction to it, he takes it for gospel this time around, much like he did the first time. But a lot of his vision is is accurate in this episode. So, is that a sign that the Force is communicating more directly, more bluntly to him, or is he just able to interpret it a little bit better? Is his connection to the Force stronger now, so there's a little bit more clarity in his Force visions? The Force is vague and mysterious, so we don't really know for sure the answers to all that, but let's get into the episode. Why not? It's been a fairly light week of Star Wars news. You know, again, the usual things are happening, comics and all that fun stuff, new books, all these good things coming out. There's going to be a theater in Britain. I think one of the British societies there. They get to air, they get to play, they get to screen an unaltered version of Star Wars, the original cut, and that's pretty darn cool. I wish that was something that was happening here in the States, but I'll just have to live with that little DVD I have that, you know, not really upgraded, but it's the only version I have left that's not a VHS. So I'll have to take what I can get. But if you're in England, or if you're going, find out how to get tickets to that screening of Star Wars, the original unaltered 1977 version of the film. Good stuff. All right, but let's go ahead, get into our episode, Star Wars Rewatching Rebels. Well, I'm rewatching Star Wars Rebels. It's really what I was trying to say there. This is Star Wars Rebels Season 2, Episode 5. I'm sorry, Episode 11. My gosh. Let's try that again. Star Wars Rebels Season 2, Episode 11, Legacy. Original air date 12/9/2015. That's right, December 9th, 2015. This episode is written by Henry Gilroy, directed by Mel Zwire. Our primary cast for this week's episode: Taylor Gray is Ezra Bridger, Vanessa Marshall is Harrison Dula, Freddie Prinze Jr. as Kanan Jarrus, Tia Shakar as Sabine Wren, Steve Blum as Zeb Orielos, Dave Filoni as Chopper, D. Bradley Baker as Admiral Constantine Rex and Ephraim Bridger, David Olawayo is Agent Callus, Keone Young is Commander Sato, Philip Anthony Rodriguez is Fifth Brother, Kathy Susi is Mira Bridger, Kath Susi, who we might know as the previous mayor of Lothal from Season 1, back as Mira Bridger. Clancy Brown, the great Clancy Brown, the Kurgan himself, is Ryder Azadi, and Sarah Michelle Gellar is Seventh Sister. Our plot for this week's episode: As the Empire attacks the rebels, Ezra is drawn to information about his parents and their fate. All right, friends, it's time. Strap on your buckets, and let's go.
Get out of here. We'll hold them off. You're going to have to relocate the covert. This is the way. This is the way.
We open the episode on Garel aboard the Ghost. It's nighttime. It's sleepy time. Ezra in his quarters with his bunkmate Zeb. They have all the bunk beds, so much more room for activities that way. And Ezra, dreaming deeply, when a force vision enters his mind. A vision of his parents, of a Lothcat, of a prison, of so many things. And it startles him awake. And he runs to tell Hera and Kanan, who are up late plotting the future of their rebel cell. And Kanan warns Ezra, just like he did previously, that trusting force visions isn't always a good idea, so to be very, very careful. But Ezra, is very believing of what he saw, very convinced, and it gets him fired up about his parents in a way that we haven't seen in quite some time. So that is sort of the impetus for Kanan and Hera to reveal that Sibo, back from season 1, Sibo, who was friends of the Bridgers, gave information to Hera and Kanan when Ezra didn't want to know, when Ezra was sort of burying his head in the sand about what sort of dark fate may have befell his parents. And so they got this information from Sibo, and they started digging and trying to get more information. And what we find out is that the Empire has a vast network of prison planets, thousands of them, in fact. And while they're probably not all like Narkina 5, we definitely get to the belief that the Empire has a lot of people hidden away, dissenters, dissenters, treason, people who have spoken up against them, a lot of political style prisoners, not just petty thieves and smugglers and of the more malicious type of criminal that's out there. And as we've seen on Narkina 5 through the Andor series, you do have to wonder, like, are they on the type of prison planet that's actually building Death Star components, things like that? Again, we don't have that information, and I'm not going to imply that the Bridgers and Ryder Azadi were maybe on Narkina 5. That would be cool, but because again, a prison break is the sort of impetus of a lot of the events in this episode. But I think trying to draw that connection and force those puzzle pieces together would be unwise. Let's again, there's 1,000 prison planets and there can be more than one prison break. But it is sort of interesting timing that Ezra sends this message, and again, this is what inspires the prison break for his parents and for Ryder. But you have to think other planets have heard it too. And again, we're getting this sort of fomenting of unrest in the galaxy. The Empire's been around for 15-ish years now, and people are starting to realize that it's not good under the Empire, and that we have to fight against the Empire. We have to stand up against the Empire. So while, again, let's not lump in Andor stuff, but that's just one side of the galaxy that's beginning to see that the Empire must be stopped. And it's happening across the galaxy. You got to remember that. Like, everybody, not especially in the Outer Rim sections, not a big fan of this Empire. And so Hera and Kanan are quick to admit that they don't get very far. They tried to call in as many favors as they could, but Ezra's parents are just gone. And it's a very, very mysterious thing. So now we cut to the Empire, where they have confirmed, Agent Kallus has independently confirmed Fifth Brother and Seven Sisters' report of rebels on Garel. So they're going to take the fleet to Garel and smoke out these rebels. There's a fun back and forth between Kallus and Seventh Sister, and she's very good at poking the bear of whoever she's with, whether it's Fifth Brother or Kallus or Ezra later in the episode, or Ezra and Kanan in the previous episode. She's very, very good at doing that, and I think that's one of the fun elements of her character. So the Empire is going to roll into Garel. We cut back to our friends on the Ghost, and Commander Sato is given a list of Imperial prisoners to Hera and Kanan. Their names and pictures have been removed, but that way the Empire can keep secret who's on these prison planets, right? That's sort of like their method. But Sato's gotten his hands on it because there has been a massive prison break. Again, not, I would imagine, on the scale of something like Narkina 5, but definitely not related to Narkina 5. Okay, let's not force those things together. But again, interesting timing. And Ezra is able to use the Force to find a connection to one of the prisoners, who may have information they need. This leads to another vision of this person, and leading Ezra back to Lothal. That's why in this first vision he saw Lothcats, and he's convinced that this person, who they know was arrested on Lothal, will probably be going back to Lothal. So now they must go back to Lothal. And that is when everyone begins to realize that the Empire has pulled back their forces on the planet of Garel. Because that's the strategy that they do before invasion. So the Imperial fleet rolls in on Garel. The rebels have to panic. And Zeb and Chopper have to cut short their shopping trip, trying to pick up some more supplies. These guys are always out for supplies. But comms are jammed. Zeb and Chopper get pinned down by the Imperials. Ezra and Kanan are trying to come to the rescue. They get also pinned down. They get caught in the crossfire. Callus has laid out a really good trap. But Ezra's single-mindedness leads to a dangerous charge. And he uses the Force in a very aggressive fashion against Callus. And seemingly gets them to the position where they can escape. Now, Seventh Sister and Fifth Brother arrive on the scene, and she very quickly goads Ezra into another confrontation. And it's one that Kanan realizes that A, he can't win, but they don't have time for. Ezra's angry because they are trying. This is all preventing him from getting to Lothal. And by the way, prior to this, we also got information that Sabine had been monitoring Imperial communications and had realized that the Imperial blockade of Lothal was done. So this is why Ezra sees the opportunity to get back to Lothal, find this connection, and potentially find his parents. So he is very doggedly pursuing that. Like, getting off Garel and getting back to Lothal immediately is first and foremost in his mind. Now, he's not going to do it without his adopted family in Zeb and Chopper and the Spectres as a whole. But everything that's happening with the Empire right now is in his way. It's slowing him down, and he does not like it. So he's getting angry, he's getting frustrated, he's getting upset. And that leads to him foolishly charging the Inquisitors. Again, a match that Kanan knows he is not ready for. So he shoots the controls, closing the blast doors. And Ezra sort of realizes that he's reacting emotionally to things, and he apologizes for that. But now it's time for the Rebel fleet to get out of here, right? Escape plan Delta for the Rebel fleet. Everyone gets back to the Ghost. We're taking off. Ezra and Kanan, along with Chopper, get aboard the Phantom. They break off from the Ghost. And again, we're shooting TIE fighters. We're having some battle in low orbit above the surface of the planet, I guess was maybe the more apt description. And it's a fun sequence here. The Phantom and the Phoenix Squadron are trying to escape. The Imperials target Sato in the command ship. The Ghost goes back to rescue them by destroying the tractor beam. It's a fun back and forth. It's fun to watch them go against these TIE fighters. So the Rebels are going to be able to escape Garel. Kanan and Ezra, along with Chopper, are going to make a break for Lothal. And as they enter orbit of Lothal, Ezra stops. There's a moment, a calm moment here before we re-enter Lothal, where I think Ezra feels hopefulness in a way that he hasn't in a long time, that maybe he's going to be able to find his parents and get some answers and get reunited with them. So I think in Ezra's mind that maybe this is like one of these last times that he'll be able to be with Kanan in a regard, in a sense. Because if Ezra's parents are alive, I think he thinks he'll just go off with them. I don't know if he's thinking through his Jedi training or any of these other aspects, but he pauses and stops to thank Kanan for always being there for him. And I think Ezra has a real sense that the future is uncertain for him if his parents are to be reunited with him. So a really nice moment for those two characters. We land on Lothal, we go back into the city, and things are different. Yes, the Empire's pulled back, but they're not gone. There's still Imperial presence on Lothal, and so Kanan and Ezra have to be careful. So they decide to go back to Ezra's house. Like, why not? Let's go back there. Let's start at the beginning here. And we find Ezra's house has been burned to the ground. But Kanan believes the Force is trying to tell him something, so he urges Ezra to reach out. And Ezra does. And as he does, that little hidey hole that they had in like the little basement area where his parents stashed Zebo at one point. A Lothcat springs forward and begins to sort of, in Ezra's mind, confirm everything that the Force was showing him before. And so Ezra tries to sort of communicate, Force bond with the Lothcat, and ends up planting a tracking device on the Lothcat. As the Lothcat sprints away and leads them on a merry chase through the town, where eventually we see the said Lothcat get on the back of a speeder and ride away. And that's when we find out that Ezra had the tracking device on him all along. So we head out to the mountains on Lothal, where we will confront the mysterious stranger who rode away on the speeder. He opens fire on them. And it's not until Ezra sort of steps from behind the rock, knowing that this is X-10, this is the prisoner they are looking for. And X-10, again, he just escaped from an Imperial prison, so he believes these are bounty hunters there to retrieve him and collect him and take him back to an Imperial prison. And this guy's not going back. X-10 is not going back to the Imperial prison planet. But Ezra steps from behind the rock, announces his name, and he's like, hey, I believe you know my parents. And that's when we find out that X-10 is, in fact, Ryder Azadi, former governor of Lothal and a political prisoner of the Empire, because he stood with the Bridgers while they sent out their messages of defiance to the Empire. So that's why Azadi's in jail with them. They are treason. They've committed treason against the Empire by speaking out and encouraging others to stand up and rise up against the tyranny of the Empire. So our characters come together, and we find out that it was, while they're on this prison planet, it's bleak, it's not good, but the Bridgers are watching out for others. They are being good people. They are being upstanding people. They are trying to encourage people to keep standing up against the Empire, even though they're in prison. Stand up. Don't become, don't let the Empire win. Continue the fight even from within these walls that hold them in. And it's actually Ezra's message, the one he sends out at the end of season 1, that encourages a rebellion within this prison that they're in. Again, not saying it's Narkina 5. The timing is just interesting. But you have to imagine, there's a lot of things going on in the galaxy at this point. A lot of people are stirring the pot. A lot of people are beginning to choke under the boot of tyranny. And so rebellions are rising up, cells are rising up to fight the Empire. It's not a unified rebellion at this point, but pockets of rebellion. It's fomenting, it's growing. And the Empire is struggling to try and squash them all because so many are springing up. Again, we dive into this more deeply in the Andor series, but this is another part of the galaxy where this is happening at the same time, because that's how it's working. Like, more and more people are realizing that the Empire has to be stopped, has to be stood up against. And it's Ezra's message that sparks a rebellion, of a prison break, a defiance. And the Bridgers are attempting, while helping other prisoners escape, is when they are killed. And Azadi passes this news on to Ezra. And Ezra sort of had the feeling. Ezra sort of knew. I think he always knew that he would never see his parents again, but he was given the gift of hope that maybe he was wrong and maybe they were still alive. And as Ezra goes off to sort of process this information, he's given another vision, almost another memory, really, of his parents, of being with them. And his mother is the one who says that without hope, we have nothing. And these are the sort of words that now stick in Ezra's mind, that sort of spur him forward. And he relays his vision to Kanan, and Kanan talks a lot about the Jedi philosophy of when people die, they join the Force, and they become, another form of energy. They don't go away. And Kanan tries to give him another sense of hope in that his parents are not gone, and they will always be with him, as the Force wills it, right? Like if it's this energy field that binds us and penetrates us, and as we pass, we become part of it. Then that's designed to give Ezra comfort and solace, knowing that even though they're dead, they are with him always. And that's where we end the episode, with reminders that even in these sad times, Ezra getting the confirmation that his parents have been murdered by the Empire, that he's not without them, that he will always have them with him in his heart, in his mind, and through the Force. And it's that sort of hopefulness that spurs the rebellion and encourages the rebellion to continue to grow and grow and grow to what it will eventually upset the Empire and save the galaxy. And I like this episode quite a bit. It's really good stuff. It's really solid. It's a very fast-paced episode. I like the message we get to. I like, again, we're sticking with our theme of hope throughout the series, throughout the show. And it's good timing for that hopefulness, because next week we get introduced to Princess Leia at this time, a young senator who's working against the Empire as well. But that's for next week's show, so let's not talk about that just yet. I like this episode a ton. I give it 8 buckets. Again, fast-paced, easy breezy, but good quality entertainment, and we're introducing ourselves to Ryder Azadi, a character who will now help with the liberation of Lothal, will help our characters moving forward. A lot of good stuff coming up with this character, and we sort of get to almost to like a midway point of season 2 here with this episode and the next episode. So really, really solid stuff. Really digging going through these episodes and kind of getting into it. But yeah, the bond between Kanan and Ezra is really strong in this episode. And I love the sort of surrogate father aspect that Kanan's sort of taking with Ezra here. Again, Ezra's just lost his real parents, but he sort of has I don't want to say like surrogate necessarily, but that might be the best word to go with here. He has sort of a surrogate father in Kanan to kind of guide him and pass on wisdom like he does, and to be there to comfort him in this time of sadness. So really great stuff. Digging it. 8 buckets. And that is our episode, friends. Come back next week. Again, Princess Leia making her Rebels debut. It's going to be a good one. I cannot wait. And again, right around the corner, Andor. Cannot wait for season 2 of Andor. And we'll be diving into those episodes as soon as they drop. 3 episodes a night every Tuesday for 4 weeks. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be glorious. It's going to be fun. But in the meantime, remember, you got Star Wars Rebels rewatches happening over here. And yeah, thank you so much for sticking with us while we do these. It's been a hoot, and I'm glad you guys are all out there. And thank you for the continued support. Buckethead Nation continues to be the best Star Wars podcast fan base in the entire galaxy. Thank you all. Go out there into the world. Get people hyped up for Rebels. Get people hyped up for season 2 of Andor. Be great Star Wars fans. Kind, supportive, understanding, respectful. That's a good one. Be respectful. And we'll be back next week for more Star Wars fun. But this podcast, my friends, it only ends one way. This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way. This is the way.
I would like to see the baby.